Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Nana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parikacharya Satara Sada Shishima's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Premska Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Jai Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Gaurana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navdeep Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 45, and text 8 and 9. Tanav akapa Tanav akapayo kamsam Nityam udvigna chetaso Mogam ete vyatikranta Divasava anarchato Tanav akapayor kamsan Nityam udvigna chetaso Mogam ete vratikranta Divasa vam anarchato Tanav akapayor kamsan Nityam udvigna chetaso Mogam ete vratikranta Nivasavam anarchataho. Tanavakapayo kamsan Nityam udvigna chaitaso Mogam ete vratikranta Nivasa Tanavakapayo kamsan Nityam udvigna chetasaho Mogamete vitikranta Nivasavam anarchataho. Tat. Therefore, now of us two, akalpayaho, who were unable, kamsat, because of kamsa, nityam, always, udvigna, disturbed, chetasaho, whose minds, mogam, uselessly, ete, these, Vyati Kranta, spent, Divasa, days, Vam, you, Anarchataho, not honoring. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Thus we have wasted all these days, unable as we were to properly honor you, because our minds were always disturbed by fear of Kamsa. Please repeat. Thus we have wasted all these days, unable as we were to properly honor you, because our minds were always disturbed by fear of Kamsa. And the purport, Lord Krishna continues to bring Vasudeva and Devaki back to their normal parental feelings toward him and Balaram. An ordinary child would be afraid of a cruel, tyrannical king like Kamsa, and Lord Krishna here plays the part of such a child, thus evoking the parental sympathy of Vasudeva and Devaki. Text number 9. Tat shantum aratas tatta maternau para tantrayo akruvator bam shurusham klishtayor durhida prisham. Dear father and mother, please forgive us for not serving you. We are not independent and have been greatly frustrated by cruel Kamsa. According to Sanskrit grammar, the words para tantrayo and klishtayo may also refer to Vasudeva and Devaki. Actually, Vasudeva and Devaki were under the control of Providence and were disturbed by the activities of Kamsa, whereas Sri Krishna is always the absolute personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyanan Gyanan Chalakaya Chakcha Unmeditangena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Sva Vedantikam Nama Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Brastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Bacharni Nirvasesa Shunyavadi Prasachadeshtarni Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Verse number 8, and I'm going to read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Tika. Therefore, because we were unable to serve you for fear of Kamsa, our days have passed uselessly. We are at fault. But the real meaning is, quote, we spent all these days uselessly, our minds wanting to go to Mathura, because we heard about Kamsa and wanted to fight him, but were unable to go. In this case, udvigna means moving or going. When Krishna says he spent his days uselessly, it is an expression of regret. And text number 9. I'll read this again. Dear father and mother, please forgive us for not serving you. We are not independent and have been greatly frustrated by cruel Kamsa. Jiva Goswami and Sanatana Goswami's Tikas. First, Jiva Goswami. You should forgive us for not serving you. He addresses them as father and mother again in order to arouse affection in them. Since you are our father and mother, you should forgive us for not serving you, since we were dependent, living in hiding and afflicted by evil Kamsa. And Sanatana Goswami writes, they call out to their parents to evoke affection, to evoke their affection. Forgive us for not being able to serve you, since we were not independent. The parents should forgive the offense of the children out of affection. Moreover, we had to hide and were persecuted by Kamsa. And I'll again read the verses 8 and 9 again, so we know. Thus we have wasted all our days, unable as we were to properly honor you, because our minds were always disturbed by great fear of Kamsa. And again, dear father and mother, please forgive us for not serving you. We are not independent and have been greatly frustrated by cruel Kamsa. The first verse of the Brahma Samhita states, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. That Krishna is Ishvara Parama. He's the foremost controller. Satchidananda, he is Vigraha. He's the embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Anadir Adir Govinda, there's nobody before him. He is the cause of all causes. Sarva Karna Karnam. In other words, another way of saying he's the cause of all causes. So, Krishna is Anadir Adir Govinda. Nobody's before him. He's the greatest. He controls everything. How is he not independent? In fact, the definition of God is that he is the supreme independent. I mean, no one is greater than he. He is the Lord of the universe, Jagannath. We hear in many places he's Aptakama. His desire to fill, he can fulfill his desires without even working at it. It says if he desires it, he has it. But he's also Atmarama, he's self-satisfied. So that nothing, he doesn't need anything. He's complete in himself. Om Prana Prana Pranamidam. I mean, he is the complete whole. 1 + 1 is 1. 1 - 1 is 1. Krishna is the absolute one personality of Godhead. And therefore, he's obviously totally independent. In fact, we can look in many places in the scriptures, and over again, it's actually said he's independent. I will shortly quote a couple of verses from Bhagavad Gita. There are many verses in the Bhagavad Gita, but in my study, I also looked up Krishna is transcendental, which is ultimately independent, and in the database that we're looking at in the Pocket Vedas, when I typed in Krishna is transcendental, either in the verse or the purport of every verse, practically every verse of the Bhagavad Gita, either it's said in the verse or Prabhupada's purport, Krishna is transcendental. Therefore, we're actually understanding that Krishna is the supreme independent personality of Godhead who's absolutely, without a second, no one is equal to him and no one is greater than him. He's independent. But yet, he's saying here in this verse, I'm not independent. I'm dependent. Twice he's saying this, that he's dependent. Who's he dependent upon? He's dependent. He's making the point that, I couldn't save you, my dear parents, because I was hiding from Kamsa. Why would the supreme independent personality of God be hiding from Kamsa? We'll get to that. But let's first talk about how he's stated to be independent in several places in the Bhagavad Gita, and speak about that. In text number 12 of the 7th chapter, Krishna states, know that all states of being be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. So, and Prabhupada explains in the purport that everything in this material world is under the control of the three modes of nature. And the three modes of nature are totally under control of Krishna. And Prabhupada compares Krishna here to a king who is not subject to the laws of the state, but rather he's transcendental to those laws. And therefore Krishna, he's transcendental to every state of being in the material world. And everything's under the power of Krishna and his laws, except Krishna is not. And even all the different forms of Vishnu tattvas, beginning with Balaram, are under the control of Krishna ultimately. Therefore, he's the supreme independent. And it's also further stated, there are many verses, I'm just picking a couple here, few. In verse number 2 of the 10th chapter, neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, as stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated that by the Lord personally, that he is the cause of the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. So we're talking about a personality who has this supremely exalted position. Next verse, number 3. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. And here it talks about how we have to understand that Krishna is unborn, beginningless. The Lord, he's the Lord of all the worlds. This is hard to adjust to the understanding that he's also the son of Devaki, the son of Vasudeva. He's the son of Yashoda and the son of Nanda Baba. How is this possible that this personality is situated as the supreme personality? At the same time, he presents himself as a subordinate personality in the Bhagavatam, and even in the Bhagavad Gita. He's Arjuna's chariot driver. And Prabhupada goes on to say in different parts, in different lectures, how Krishna is Swarat. And what does that mean? Swarat means independent. So in London, Bhagavad Gita class in 1973. So I am conscious to a certain extent only, not fully. I am not abhigya. That means I, this living entity. I am not very expert. These are simple truths, but these rascals are claiming that I am God. God is means he is conscious. Not only conscious, he's abhigya, very expert, knows everything, and swarat. Now, to get to abhigya, abhigyata, or experience, we have to consult somebody. But God is swarat. We have to learn things, but God is swarat. Swarat means he's personally so independent that he doesn't require to take knowledge from anyone else. That is God, Swarat. Swarat means fully independent. That is God. In other words, he doesn't need anything because he's the Supreme Lord. And then in a lecture from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first verse, 111. This is in Caracas in 1975. Just like sometimes the atheist class of men inquire that if God is the original Father, the supreme Father of everyone, then who is God's Father? The answer is that God has no father. He is self-sufficient. Therefore, this word is used, swarat. Swarat means self-sufficient. So so far we are concerned. I have got my father. My father has got father. His father has got father, father, and so on. When you come to a person who has no more father, that is God. That is the test. If we find somebody that he has no father, then he is God. And if some rascal comes and says, I am God, then you ask him whether you have got father. As soon as he says, yes, I have got father, then he is a dog. So in your country, so many imitation gods come. I know this, but you ask them to test them whether you have got father. If he says, yes, I have got father, then you say, you are dog. Therefore, God's another name is unborn. Unborn means he is not begotten by any father. But yet we see he has father. He even has two sets of parents. So this is a conundrum for those who are outsiders. Take one more verse here. Yes. This is a lecture from the pastimes in the 7th canto with Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu and, of course, Nrsimhadev. Even Brahma, he is also worshiping the supreme God. Tene Brahma Hrida Adikavaye Muyanti Yatra Surya Janmadyasya Yataha Anvayad Itarascha Arteshu Abhigya Swarat. These are all portions of quotes from the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So God is Swarat. He is not dependent on any other controller. That is God. That is God. We are God, small g. That's all right. But we are controlled even by the material nature. What to speak of other things? By saying we are God, small g, means that we have the qualities of God in a minute portion. Not all the qualities, some of the qualities. But we're controlled by material nature. So we are not independent. Independent God is Krishna, Swarat. He is described as Swarat. Swarat means independent. He is not controlled by anyone. That is real God. And we may be God, but imitation God or small God. But the great, God is great. That great God is Krishna. So Prahlad Maharaj says that Kumara, the boys, he was taking the opportunity of teaching his class friends. He was 5 years old boy, and his father was a great demon, Hiranyakashipu, who said, "Don't talk of God." So this way, so in this way, Prahlad was in a very precarious position. Still, because he was a Vaishnava, he was taking the opportunity of preaching Krishna consciousness. So we're seeing ample examples here. How God is great. God is independent. God, and we have to understand that. Manushanam sarhasreshu kachit yatati siddhaye. After many, many births, great sages take many, many births before they can actually understand that Krishna is everything. It takes a long time. So to understand this, we have to study, we have to chant, we have to associate with devotees to understand the greatness of the Supreme Lord. That he's everywhere. He controls everything. Not a blade of grass moves without his sanction. And it's important to understand this because sometimes people, they become disturbed when bad things happen and they think God's at fault. Well, God's never at fault. Krishna is never at fault. Krishna has set into motion a perfect situation for every living entity. By definition, he has the only good wishes with everyone because we're his parts and parcels. He's not rejecting any of his parts and parcels. They're part of him in that sense. And since they're part of him, he's not rejecting. If we have issues and problems and difficulties, it's because we're in the material world, averse to being in a situation where we are in a loving relationship with him. That just comes with the package in the material world. Independence comes at a price. Birth, death, old age, and disease, and all the incumbent problems that come along with living here in this material world. So we're still stuck here now with the understanding that this great independent personality is somehow or other dependent, and he's talking to his parents here saying, I couldn't save you because I was hiding from Kamsa. I couldn't save you because, we were scared. And in the purports and in the tikas, it's emphasized here that Krishna is trying in this conversation to evoke the natural parental feelings that Devaki and Vasudeva have for them, or Krishna and Balaram, but because they had seen that they were actually God, they had lost those feelings out of awe and reverence. And to be noted that Mother Yashoda never had this problem. Neither did Nanda Baba or Radharani or anybody in Vrindavan. If even they would see something that would maybe point to Krishna being the Supreme Lord, they would have some alternative explanation for it to make sure they could, it couldn't be because Krishna is our son or lover or friend. It can't be. It must be me. Maybe I'm crazy, or maybe there's a demigod or something happening here. But in the case of Vasudeva and Devaki, they're really having they're really disturbed. So Krishna is doing his best to make them feel that, yes, these are my sons, and we can relate to them this way. And he's taking this position of explaining, we're sorry, it was our fault, we were under the control of fear, and in this world we aren't independent. And the point being made here in the first purport is no, the second one. It's where it speaks that Krishna says he's under control, but actually it's Vasudeva and Devaki who were under control, and that they were controlled by providence, and providence being a sort of impersonal word for God, meaning the all-powerful nature of the Supreme Lord, and they were the ones under control of the power of the Lord. And the Lord certainly was not under anybody's control. So therefore, this way of speaking is a way of kind of covering things up so that Vasudeva and Devaki can come to their, quote, come to their senses. They're not going to come to their senses. They're going to actually enter into the Yoga Maya senses, where they can actually understand Krishna as he is without being bewildered by Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God, being so great. So what's the key to this? What's the key? Well, Prabhupada writes, and both in the lectures he speaks, and also he writes in purports in the Srimad Bhagavatam about how Krishna is conquered, how Krishna is under the control of the devotees, and how only by the devotees can the Lord be controlled. Speaking in Mayapur in 1973, Prabhupada writes, Krishna says, yes, I'm breaking my promise. Don't kill Arjuna. Therefore, for the sake of a devotee, he sometimes breaks his promise. But if his devotee promises, I shall do it, Krishna will give him all protection. Yes, it must be done. In all circumstances, it must be done. This is Krishna. If his devotee promises something that this must be done, Krishna gives all protection. Therefore, it is stated, Ajitashraya. You cannot be successful without being Ajitashraya. Ajita means Krishna. Nobody can conquer him. Jita means conquered. Nobody is there who can conquer Krishna. But Krishna also can be conquered by his devotees. Just like the gopis, they conquered Krishna. Krishna accepted that, my dear gopis, the service that which you have rendered, I cannot repay. You have conquered me. There is no possibility of my repaying your service. You better be satisfied with your service. That's all. So Krishna's name is Ajita, Achyuta. These are Krishna's different names. Unborn. And, okay, Krishna, another class. This is Bombay. And this is in 1974. When Krishna was present, he had to fight with so many demons, but nobody could conquer him. That is the history. He conquered everyone, but no one could conquer him. He is conquered by his devotee only. That's all. Therefore, his name is Ajita. Ajita. If you want to conquer over Ajita, then you simply, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that don't speculate. Stani stita, jnane prayasam, upasya, namanta eva. Be submissive. Krishna, I am very poor. Krishna, I have no means to understand you. So if you kindly be merciful upon me, then I can understand something about you. This is the idea. Surrender, Prabhupada then says. That is wanted. Krishna is very merciful as soon as he sees that someone is surrendered. Trinvada swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana vidyansa stoya badrani vidunoti suritsatam. This is the process. If we hear about Krishna, stani stita shruti gatim tanu van manobi, you remain in your position. Don't change. Either you are a Brahmana or a Shudra, Grihastha or Sannyasi, it doesn't matter. But if you hear about Krishna, this is the process. This is first-class process. So the idea is surrender. And we can surrender in any position. As a neophyte or as a great advanced devotee, it all depends on surrender. And we surrender to the extent that we are able. And Krishna reciprocates by giving us the opportunity to understand him in truth. Deham pranar janma. So we can understand Krishna in truth only if we become surrendered devotee. Otherwise, Krishna, he's independent, but he's dependent upon the devotee. And this is a verse I'm going to cite now from the Damodar Leela, and it's really quite instructive. And Prabhupada in purport is very, very clear about this position of the devotee conquering Krishna through love. And this is verse, Canto 10, Chapter 9, verse number 19. O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet, the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. And Prabhupada writes, this pastime of Krishna's is very difficult to understand, but devotees can understand it. It is therefore said, Darshayam tad vidam loka atmano bhaktavat vashyatam. The Lord displays the transcendental attribute of coming under the control of his devotees. These contradictions cannot be understood by one who is not a devotee, but a devotee can understand how powerful is unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. It is so powerful that Krishna can be controlled by an unalloyed devotee. This Britya Vashyata, does not mean he is under the control of the servant. Rather, he is under the control of the servant's pure love. So some people would think, oh, somehow or another, Arjuna has become so great that Krishna, God, has become his chariot driver. So he's the servant, but he's under the control of Arjuna's love. There's no compelling Krishna to do anything, anywhere, anytime, except through love. How else can Krishna be chastised by the gopis? Or that Radharani with a frown can make him feel disturbed and upset? How is it possible that the supreme creator and controller of everything can have a mother who chases after him and tries to tie him up? And he can't be tied up, really, because he's the supreme Lord. But then he agrees to be tied up, and he's tied up. So therefore, there's that dynamic there. But the mother Yashoda doesn't get it ever. She just thinks, this is my boy, and there's something strange with these ropes. What's going on? In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Arjuna ordered him, Senayor Ubayor Madhye Ratam Stapaya Mechuta. My dear Krishna, you have agreed to be my charioteer and to execute my orders. Place my chariot between the two armies of soldiers. Krishna immediately executed this order, and therefore one may argue that Krishna also is not independent. But this is one's ajnana, or ignorance. Krishna is always fully independent. When he becomes subordinate to his devotees, this is the display of Ananda Chinmaya Ras, the humor of transcendental qualities that increases his transcendental pleasure. He gains pleasure by having this relationship with someone who can play the part of being superior. And that person who playing the part of the superior is absolutely aware of their inferior position and total dependence on Krishna. Nobody outside that kind of consciousness can have that. So when a person says, oh God, I demand that you show yourself to me, well, he'll never show himself. But the person who says, oh my Lord, I'm totally subordinate to you. You are my master. You are my everything. I have no life without you. At whatever level that is, then Krishna will reveal to that person. And that revelation, well, it comes, Yayatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. It comes to the degree that one is surrendered. But the surrender has to be there. The surrender must be there. We can never order the Lord. Everyone worships Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he sometimes desires to be controlled by someone else. Such a controller can be no one else but a pure devotee. So this pure devotional service is the goal of our life as given to us by our Guru Dev, Srila Prabhupada, or other great gurus in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, including the gurus coming after Srila Prabhupada. So the point being is we have been given a great gift. How is this the matchless gift? Because instead of going to Krishna or God as the supreme controller, bowing down in deference and then seeing this power and thinking, oh, this is great, he's protecting me in a distant sort of way, we can actually enter into what Krishna wants. Krishna wants to have a good time for eternity. He's not just interested in sitting on a throne with a bunch of groveling or subordinate jivas. He wants to be in a relationship for eternity. And we want relationship of love, and we want it for eternity. But we can't get it here, and he can't get it without a pure devotee. So this pure devotional service granted to us, the process to get there, is the supreme goal of life. It is the prayojan, the goal of pure prem, is the gift of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, as a gift of Srila Prabhupada, and we are the most fortunate recipients of this most precious gift. So we'll stop there. Comments? Sorry. Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Maravindanalaya Taksham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Nandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam
Page 32. Govinda Gopal, page 32, 32. Hey, 32. Hey Govinda, hey Gopal, Kesava Madhava Dinataya. He Govinda, He Gopal, Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Tumi Parama Doyal Prabhu, Parama Doyal. Tumi Parama Doyal Prabhu, Parama Doyal. Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Sava Madhava Dinadayal. Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Pittavasana Parimayurera. Pittavasana Parimayurera Sikadori. Pittavasana Parimayurera Sikadori. Muralirvani tilavole vole Radhana Radhanam. Muralirvani tule vole Radhana Radhana. Tumi Madera Gopal Prabhu, Madera Gopal. Tumi Madera Gopal Prabhu, Madera Gopal. Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Bhava Bhaya Vanchanasi Madhura Sudhama. Bhava Bhaya Vanchanasi Madhusudhana. Vipada Vanchana Tumi Narayana. Vipada Vanchana Tumi Narayana. Vipada Vanchana Tumi Narayana. Vipada Vanchana Tumi Narayana. He Govinda, He Gopal, Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Govinda, He Gopal, Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. He Govinda, He Gopal, Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. He Govinda, He Gopal, Kesava Madhava Dinadayal. Dinadayal Prabhu, Dinadayal. Dinadayal Prabhu, Dinadayal. Dayal Prabhu, Dinadayal. Dinadayal Prabhu, Dinadayal. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He Govinda, Kesavamadavadinadaya Dahe Gopa Kesavamadavadinadaya Dinadayal Prabhu Dinadaya Dinadayal Prabhu Dinadaya Dayal Prabhu Dinadaya Dinadaya Prabhu Dinadaya Jaya Nandarada Goloka Nandarada Goloka Nanda Sirade Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Pada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Sri Radhe De Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Sri Radhe Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. O pleaser of the cows, O protector of the cows, O bearer of the finest hair, O husband of the goddess of fortune, you are very merciful to the fallen souls. You are supremely merciful, O Lord, supremely merciful. O Keshava, O Madhava, O Dinadayal, wearing bright yellow garments and a peacock feather upon your crown, you play the flute and make it sing the name of Radha. You are the cowherd boy that gives great delight, O Lord, the cowherd boy that gives great delight. O Keshava, O Madhava, O Dinadayal. Take away our fear of being trapped on the wheel of repeated birth and death in the material world. And you are the splendorous killer of the demon Madhu, the destroyer of all tribulations. You are the supreme resting place for all souls. He Govinda, He Gopal. Jai. Ava Mahadava Nirvapana.
Vijadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnam Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Varta. Thank you for dressing. You have fun with all the flowers. Dordaiva midrishami hajani manuraga Renata pisunichena tarora pisuhishuna Amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye Mama janmani janmani ishvare bhavatad bhaktir ahoita ki tvai Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddha Kripayata vapata pankaja stita duli sadrishim vachintaya Nayanam galadashu daraya varanam gad gadavridaya gira Pulakar nishitam vapruhada Tavanama grahane bhavishyati Yugayatam nami